Hello, good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. It is Wednesday, the 25th of March, 2026. Thank you for joining me this morning. It's a beautiful day outside, and it's a great time to gather together and look at God's Word. Beautiful morning out this morning. We are in a waxing moon. We will probably have a full moon here within the next week or so. Of course, that makes sense because Easter is coming up. And we will have. I had somebody tell me recently that that this year Passover and Easter falling, or that the Christian Passover and the Jewish Passover fall on the same day. I don't know if that happens every year or not. I have to do some more research into that. But definitely the calendar for both of them are very, very similar. So it wouldn't surprise me if it happens every year, but I don't know. But we are a week from tomorrow is Passover, or is Good Friday, or Monday, Thursday, and then from Friday to a week from Friday is Good Friday, and then a week from Sunday is Easter Sunday, and coming up this Sunday is Palm Sunday. And looking forward to Palm Sunday. It's always a great service. Holy Week is a fun week, but it is also a lot of work. So next week, actually, we are not getting together at all next week. So Monday through Friday, we are off. All right. And birthdays, let's see. Today is the 25th. We don't have any birthdays today. So I think I will close that out. I will close this out. All right. Let's get into our study. We're going to have a fun study today, interesting study today. We are in the book of Deuteronomy. This is Moses and the Israelites camping out on the west side of the Jordan, the east side of the Jordan, waiting to go over to the west side of the Jordan, where they will conquer the promised land. Jesus, or God, is revealing the law one more time, making sure that everybody's clear on how they're to live, how they're supposed to treat each other. What are the things that God is expecting of the Israelites before they cross over the river into the promised land? And we are going to start reading in Deuteronomy chapter 22, beginning of verse 1. And you have to give me a second here to get this up right here. If you see your fellow Israelites' ox or sheep straying, do not ignore it, but be sure to take it back to its owner. If they do not live near you, or if you do not know who owns it, take it home with you and keep it until they come looking for it. Then give it back. Do the same if you find their donkey or cloak or anything else they've lost. Do not ignore it. So you're walking along the road, you come across a donkey or an ox, and you say, hey, buddy, you look lost. You could just leave it there and say, well, at some point this donkey or ox is going to go home. But if they're here, chances are they don't know how to get home, or it was some weird circumstance. Maybe it was a storm or something like that caused this donkey or ox to get off course, and they have no idea where they are. So you don't just leave it in the field. You take it home. If you know who it belongs to, you walk it back. If it's your neighbor's donkey, you walk it back to your neighbor. If that's not feasible because you don't know who it belongs to, you bring it home. And you know that at some point, somebody's going to come looking for this donkey. And that is enough. And if they don't come looking for the donkey and you go a year or two, then the donkey's yours, right? You could donate the donkey to a cause. You could give it to a family that needs a donkey. I mean, these are always the things that you didn't earn the donkey, you just found it. And for today's modern world, I think this would be something like you're walking along the street and you find a wallet on the ground. And you could just leave the wallet there, but you know that at some point somebody's going to steal that wallet. Now, there could be somebody coming along that's a very honest person that takes the wallet and tries to get it back to the owner. But if you're an honest person, this is your responsibility. You're the one there. So you pick up the wallet and you open it up. You look at the name. This has happened to me a couple times. I remember one time I did find a wallet and it had the had the address of somebody in Tucson, and I wasn't sure I wanted to go knocking on doors. So I put it in a box and mailed it to the address. And I figured if the address didn't work, it would be, it would come back to me, but it never came back to me. So I think I did the right thing. But this could be anything that you find. I also once found a phone, and I called, the phone number of the person who owns the phone isn't there, but notify in case of emergency. I called both those numbers and said, "Hey, I found this phone." I described the phone. If you know whose phone this is, let the person know that I have their phone. And I gave him my phone number and never heard back. And I'm like, I don't know what else to do. I mean, if it really, a phone is a challenging thing, because there's really, without breaking into the phone, which you can't break into modern phones. I guess the FBI probably could, but I don't know that technology. What do you do with the phone? I still have the phone here. I think I posted on Facebook, and I think I posted a couple other places. Hey, I found this phone. I described it. Nothing. It's just, I do wonder if maybe something happened to that person. In retrospect, I wonder if I should have given it to the police. If maybe some nefarious thing happened to that person, their phone was the only evidence left. I don't know. Just a very, very strange thing to find a phone like that and not to have anybody come looking for it, because it was a nice phone. But you do what you can. You go as far as you can, and then at some point you've done all that you can. Now, do we need to? Is this? Does this Old Testament law still apply today? Is the question you will ask yourself. And the answer is no. Jesus fulfilled all the Old Testament laws. Jesus' righteousness covers your unrighteousness. So you do not have to follow these laws. But if you want to know the heart of God, and if you have been redeemed by Jesus and his Spirit lives in you, and your desire is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, then this would be something that you would do not for justification or righteousness, but out of responsive love. We call this the third use of the law. The first use of the law is to the guardrail or the mirror. It's the mirror and the guardrail. The mirror exposes your sin, that you need a savior. The guardrail keeps you on the straight and narrow so that you don't, live a horrible life. And the third use of the law is basically, all right, I'm a follower of Jesus. I want to do what's right. What does that look like? And this would fall into a third use of the law, which is basically, you see something that belongs to somebody else. Your charge, if you love Jesus and you want to do what's right, because you love him, then you try to find the owner and you give the property back to the person. All right, verse 4. If you see your fellow Israelite's donkey or ox fallen on the road, do not ignore it. Help the owner get it to its feet. Yeah, so this is the same thing is true if your fellow Israelite is having a problem with their donkey and they need help. Go over there and help. The same thing is true. You're driving down the road and you see somebody with their jack out and they're changing a tire. And if you think that they need help to change their tire, then stop and help. And now it's always a risk, right? If you could put yourself into danger. And it doesn't say anything about danger here, but this is not for salvation. This is because you love Jesus. And there are times when you take a risk when you love Jesus. It could be that two different people have different risk tolerances. Some people might say, yeah, I'm reasonably strong. I'm reasonably able to take care of myself. I see this situation. I don't see any threats, so I'm going to stop and do this. Whereas another person might say, there's threats all around here. If I do this, there's a high probability I could get hurt. This is a trap, all those things. And this is why the fact that Jesus has redeemed us is so powerful because we are not required to stop and help in order to be saved. We're saved because of Jesus. This is how we respond to our salvation. And I think Jesus is pleased when you do something to help your fellow neighbor. And I think that if you analyze the situation and you realize that you're at risk and that there may be a better way to help, that he's pleased at that too. But either way, what he wants you to do is to consider it. He wants you to look at the situation and say, what would Jesus do? what would the red letter challenge, what would WWIJS, who do you, yeah, anyway, but that's the way we're to live our life. Treat others as you'd want to be treated. Love your neighbor as yourself. The famous parable of this is the parable of the Good Samaritan, where the Samaritan actually stops and risks because he risked too. He could have stopped to help this guy, but the guy who beat him up could still be around. The whole thing could be a trap. But sometimes you take a risk because you see somebody hurting on the side of the road. All right. Verse 5. A woman must not wear men's clothing, nor a man wear woman's clothing, for the Lord your God tests anyone who does this. So you probably didn't even know this was in the Old Testament, but you're not to wear women's clothing and women are not to wear men's clothing. Why? I mean, and I don't know what the difference in clothing was between men and women back then. You kind of think that everybody wore robes, so maybe it all looked the same. But there have always been distinctions between what men wear and women wear, even in the Old Testament. And in the Old Testament, there is obviously there's a distinction between the sexes. Men and women are dramatically different, physiologically, mentally, emotionally. We are 100% different from each other. And so how we treat a woman is different than how we treat a man. And the things we expect from women are different from the things we expect from a man. Now, you can call that misogynist if you want to, but it is a biological fact that men and women are different and that you approach them differently. And in the Old Testament, and in every society, men and women dress differently. And so how you approach a person, you need to have a distinction as to whether or not that's a man or a woman. And for example, let's say you're going down the side of the road and you see a person struggling. You might see that person's wearing women's clothing and have a different response than if you see that person wearing men's clothing. And because how you treat the world around you, I mean, this is patently obvious in the Old Testament, that there's just a distinction in the world between men and women. And so therefore don't confuse people by confusing the outer appearance of men and women. Now, the question is, does this apply today? Well, first of all, as we've just said, the Old Testament law doesn't apply. Jesus covers the Old Testament law. This is how do we respond because we love God. And in today's society, there isn't a clear distinction between men and women's clothing. There was, what was it? I saw somebody once got fired because they wore a pantsuit and they should have been wearing a skirt. Was it a 70s show, maybe, where the expectation was that women would wear skirts and men would wear pants, and the pantsuit was brand new, and the boss in this situation said, no, you cannot wear a pantsuit, you must wear a skirt. So, I mean, even as late as the 70s, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, that there was still this distinction between men and women's clothing. But all that has been erased. I don't think that there is anything that I've seen guys wear, I've seen them wear makeup. I've seen them wear, what is it? Fingernail polish, toenail polish. I mean, I've just seen that there doesn't seem to be a strong distinction. And so it is sometimes very, very challenging. We'll watch something on TV and I'll turn to Jennifer and I'll say, is that a man or a woman? And we look at each other like, I have no idea. There's no distinction. There's other ways, I suppose, to figure it out by, I mean, not even a name would be figured. I mean, there are times when it's very, very challenging. And it would be nice to know if it's a man or woman, but not. We live in such a complex society today. I don't know if it really matters. This is probably more for that time than it is today. And again, this isn't for salvation. This is just if you love God, then how do you conduct yourself? And one of the ways that you could say, a person could say, is, I love God, and because of that, I want to make it very clear that I'm a male, so I'm going to dress as a male. I want to make it very clear that I'm a female, so I'm going to dress as a female, just so that there's no ambiguities, because ambiguities can cause problems. But it's less and less problematic today. All right, verse 6. If you come across a bird's nest besides the road, either in a tree or on the ground, and the mother is sitting on the young or on the eggs, do not take the mother with the young. You may take the young, but be sure to let the mother go so that it may go well with you and you may have a long life. So this is you coming across a bird's nest, you're able to take the eggs, but not the mother. Mother gets to live to make eggs another day. And, the birds we have around here are quail and doves, but we'll see quail eggs and dove eggs all the time. And we are always very, very curious to see if they live to maturity and they actually produce children or offspring. A lot of times we'll find the eggs on the ground, crushed, or sometimes we'll see the eggs gone, that they never made it. Probably a snake or some other creature got in there and stole the eggs. But according to the Old Testament law, if you see a nest, don't take the mother, but take the eggs. That's to please God. Again, this isn't for salvation. This is simply is a response to God. When you build a new house, make a parapet around your roof so that you may not bring the guilt of bloodshed on your house if someone falls from the roof. You probably didn't know that was the purpose of a parapet. You probably thought it was decoration. But a parapet is there to protect somebody from falling off the roof. And so when you build a house, don't make an unsafe situation. And this isn't just houses. This is our whole entire life. If you've got a place in your house where the concrete is shifted and it's a tripping hazard, it is your responsibility to reduce that tripping hazard, either by painting it or by putting a sign there or by removing it or something like that. And taking reasonable precautionary steps to love your neighbor. You know this area because you live there, but if a foreigner comes in, then and that foreigner trips, then you're ultimately responsible. If you own a piece of property, if you own a business and people come in and out of your business, this is the level of standard that would go to the courts. If a person falls and trips in your business, the question the court's going to ask is, did you take reasonable steps to protect the premises so that people wouldn't fall? And a jury would look at that. If you have water on the floor and you find out that there's water on the floor and you do nothing about it and it's a slippery floor, then a jury would find you guilty. But if you put a sign up and you say, okay, I'm going to go find a mop and I'm going to come back and clean this up. So you put the sign up and somebody trips because they don't see the sign, and you took reasonable steps to proceed in the process, then the jury would find you not guilty. And this is the same in the Old Testament. Take reasonable precautions, do the things that a normal person would do under normal circumstances to try to protect the property. And again, this isn't for salvation. This is just because you love God. Do not plant two kinds of seed in your vineyard. If you do, not only the crops you plant, but also the fruit of the vineyard will be defiled. Do not plow with an ox and a donkey yoked together. Do not wear clothes of wool and linen woven together. Make tassels on the four corners of the cloak you wear. Not entirely sure in today's understanding of crops and agriculture, you could have a row of corn and then a row of something else. You're not intermixing them. But you might today say that there's a benefit to plant one kind of tree next to another kind of plant because this one repels bugs and this one provides nutrient. I mean, I think that a lot of these things were good for the Old Testament time, but because of modern science and the way that we understand the world around us, you maybe could have wool and linen woven together because now we know how to do that in a way that they didn't know 4,000 years ago. And again, these Old Testament laws aren't mandatory. They're just we're saved by grace through faith in Jesus Christ, and we're not saved by these Old Testament laws. This is a response. How am I going to live my life? And the Old Testament informs us on how to do that. Let's see. This next section is rather long. Yeah, I think before we get into the next section, which is really, really quite fascinating, we'll need to start a new day. What is this? Oh, look at that. All right. So I think we'll end it there. When we get together next time, we will pick up at 22:13. And we'll learn about all the laws concerning marriage and people who are unmarried, women who are unmarried. How do you prove that they're unmarried and all that sort of thing. All right. So we'll end it there, and we'll pick up at verse 13 when we meet again. So let's close in prayer. Gracious God, thank you for this day, and watch over us till we meet again. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so today is Deuteronomy. Tomorrow is Thursday. We will look at the red letter challenge tomorrow, and we'll go through that, and then we'll talk about the last 5 chapters the last 7 chapters that we read, and then we'll move forward. And then next week we are off, and then the following week we'll do all the things that we would normally do. So we'll kind of leave it here, and you're welcome to join me for the Red Letter Challenge tomorrow. Probably most of you will, and we'll leave it there. Hope you have a great day. Take care. God's blessings. Bye.